So last week, we tried three different sales strategies that boosted our sales calls and show up rates, honestly, like never before. And so today, I wanted to talk with you, Gabe, about breaking down what those three strategies are and how you can implement them into our viewers, businesses to book more calls and more importantly, keep them in your calendar because that could be a real big miss in a lot of business owners. And so I really wanted to tap into that today. But before we get into it, if you guys are new here, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps us out a lot. We put out a new podcast every Friday where we deliver high valuable, free resources for different business owners. And so we're really excited to kind of talk about that today. But before we get into it, Gabe, I wanted to ask you to, if you could, last week you held an event and I wanted you to share a little bit about that event that you put on and why upgrading our sales strategy through that was so important.
Yeah, absolutely. So we held the 3x3 profit system workshop, and I've taught different pieces of that over the years, but it really came together in an effective, way to just really show everybody exactly how to grow their business. And we talked about what we talk about on the show here a lot. We talked about really how to know exactly what your customers, your prospects are thinking through market research. And we also talked about building just a really effective, simple execution plan. And then one of my favorite parts of the workshop that we did towards the end was talking about this 3x3 sales system. And I'll just share it with everybody here. It's simple if you're consistent. That's always the thing, is just schedule, half hour in your calendar every day. And then you reach out to three different groups of people. And I always tell people, all you have to do is make this it's all customer service is the simplest way to,
Right.
right intention and approach. And so make three calls to existing customers and just check in and say, like, how's everything going with our product or service? Do you need anything? Just build the relationship, check in, because if you're consistent with that, you'll uncover new opportunities, or you realize, oh, they didn't know about this part of our service, or they could be using more of something.
Yeah.
So you start your three calls there, because that's all of us have a lot of hats to wear, a lot to do, and it's overwhelming sometimes to go like, oh, I got to shift into sales mode, and that can be intimidating. Even for me,
Yeah.
I've been doing sales for almost 30 years, and like sometimes I'm just feeling off, or it's not the most comfortable. So you start with those three just customer service calls. How you doing? What can we help you with? How's everything go with our product or service? Any feedback? Anything I can do for you?
Right.
Then your next three calls is you call past customers and just say, hey, I know you used to be a customer XYZ time, whenever it was. Just checking in. Do you need anything from us? Is there anything I can do to help you? And then your last three calls, because you're all warmed up and you've had great conversations with people you've already done business with, is just to call three new people that could potentially use your products or services. Say, hey, I was just talking to so-and-so business owner earlier this morning, or a customer, or consumer that was using this. Just want to reach out to you too and say, here's what we offer. If you need it, let me know. It's still just a customer service call. And as simple as it sounds, doing 9 calls a day, if you do that 5 days a week, it will absolutely explode your revenue when you're consistent with that, because I've taught that to a handful of clients over the years, and they all grow their revenue. I've seen at the minimum it grow revenue 20%. And I have another client who put it into place, and he almost broke $300,000 in 90 days of brand new customers.
Yeah.
And it's a super powerful system. And so what I love about offering like a training or workshop like that is that it opens the door to deepen your relationship with prospects, with customers, with people that maybe haven't been engaging or been around in a while. And it's really just the service first, methodology and mindset and belief that we have, is that if you show up and serve, you help people solve problems, you automatically and authentically become the expert in the space. You become the authority to them. And next time they're stuck, they'll go, oh, they just helped me with this. Why don't I ask? Or they'll recognize your emails faster, or they'll see your marketing, and recognize who you are. And so that's one example of how we, over the course of the year, hold different workshops and trainings. We give away a lot of them for free. Sometimes we charge a few bucks for them, depending on what kind of level of work we're going to do in the workshop. But that's a great way to re-engage people and really build from the relationship first strategy, which I believe all businesses should use because it's the most effective,
Yeah.
like we do. And so that's really what we dove into, and it was a ton of fun. And we met some new people and had some folks back that have worked with us over the years, and it was a really good experience for us.
Yeah, and speaking of, I'm going to touch on that a little bit later about my experience of inviting people and getting to engage with our community and things like that. But I wanted to touch a little bit more on that while we're talking about it, because I think it's so important what you were saying. It's just 9 calls a day. You know what I mean? And that I feel like for some business owners can even be a little bit intimidating, right? Because people are so adverse to cold calls these days. And I wanted to share a little bit of my experience about that since you brought it up. And for those who don't know, I've made tens of thousands of cold calls in my career. I've done it a lot. And one thing I've learned is what you taught me and something I've developed is come at it with a service base. Just check in. You know, you're not there to sell something over the phone. You're there to really nurture that relationship and just show up for them, whether it's the people who are already paying for your services or products, people who you haven't engaged with for a while, or new folks. You're reaching out to build that relationship, and I think it'll surprise you, like how many people really resonate with that. Of course, there will be people who, don't quite align with your vision and things like that. That's going to happen in any area of business. But what I think you'll find in using that is you're going to have really high quality conversations where you can just show up to give a resource or serve them. And the more that you do that, the more that they trust you and are more willing to, as we're going to talk about, book the sales call. And so I think that nurturing that relationship early on or even re-engaging past clients is really, really important. So let's dive into it. Let's talk about a couple of ways to book more of those sales calls through a nurturing process. One thing that comes to mind is offering something other than your full package, right?
Yeah.
Today's buyers are smart. We know this. Like we, especially in the space that we're in, they're smart people. And so they know that a simple sales call can often lead to like a hard sell, as we would say. Therefore, another one thing you can do is offer another step in the process before jumping into the sales call. A free demo, a trial of your product, a consultation call with one of the people on your team. And so, Gabe, I know that a lot of business owners listening are probably sighing, right? Because this is yet another step that they have to add to their process. But what would you say to those people who are hesitant about doing this sort of thing?
Yeah, the goal of building a relationship and having a long-term relationship with your customer who is getting value from you as a company and buying your services, repeatedly in your products is to establish trust because I would say the vast majority of all of our listeners, probably everybody, you're not unique. And I hate to break it to you, but the service you sell, the product you sell is not unique in itself. But where people make the buying decision is when they trust that not only the product or service is what they need, but the people, the team, the whole company delivering it is somebody that they can trust. And so, what the most important thing is to remember that every step you take in building a relationship will ultimately, over time, achieve your goal of driving revenue in the business and will achieve your prospects and ultimately your customers' goals of solving their problem. And so, it's actually in a lot of cases faster to slow down and just say, like, let's get to know each other. Let me provide some value and support here, whether it's a low cost, trial run sample of what you're offering, whether it's free. Because if you can demonstrate the true value of what you offer, then again, you become the primary solution, the primary option in their mind. So couple examples I've seen clients do really well, and we've done different things like this over the years. One entrepreneur I'm working with, he has an amazing, PMF wellness device. And so he will take one of his, PMF machines. He'll go and, demonstrate how it works, show people how it enhances their health and helps them heal and recover. And he says, why don't you just try this? All you have to do is sign an agreement that you're trying and you're going to take care of it. And why don't you try it for 2 weeks and then we'll talk and you see if it fits for you, because he knows the value it delivers. And him and I have been tracking this for a while now, and it's well over 80%. It might be 90%, but the vast majority that try it go, oh yeah, I want this now. I'm ready to invest, or can I do a financing option, or how do I do this? Because he sells something higher ticket.
Right.
On the other end of the spectrum, we've had clients that have been extremely successful, like in the supplement space, in any of the CPG, like consumer packaged goods spaces, where they'll say, like, we're so confident in our product, you can just have a free sample. All you have to do is pay the shipping. We'll send you the supplement, the hair product, the CBD, whatever it is. And that way somebody gets to experience it, not pay full price. And you can easily keep track of who's doing samples, so people aren't, getting free samples from you all the time. But honestly,
Right.
if that happens a little bit, that's okay. It's not the end of the world. And we have a strategy where you can actually give those free samples away and still be profitable enough that you can run your advertising indefinitely, because your advertising can pay for itself. And once again, a new person that doesn't know your company, who you market to, you advertise, they find you, goes, oh, like, I don't know if I really want this. Oh, it's really easy. It's I'll cover some shipping and I'll try this out. And then you get that opportunity to build trust. And of course, then it comes to the follow up because you've taken the first step and offered something valuable. Then it's your email series, it's your live outreach, it's how you follow up with them and say, like, how did that work? Because two things will happen. One, they'll be like, oh, it's exactly what I wanted. I'd love to buy more, and they'll buy. Or there are some cases where you offer that and you reach out to people and they say, oh, it wasn't really good or it didn't solve my problem. That is just as valuable as a customer signing up because you're getting real feedback from somebody that is in your market and you can learn and adapt your product or your service. And so things like that, offering, hey, and I do this on occasion. I don't do it so much anymore because I've got some kind of established consulting I do. But there's plenty of times I said, why don't I come in and I'll just give you, 2 hours free consulting, show you how it works if you want to build a new strategy or work on something. And then after that, let's see what you need. And again, two great things come out of that. There's usually two main paths. One, they're like, this is awesome. I need you more. I want more services. Or they're like, that solved my problems. I super appreciate it. And then I'll say, who do you know that could use something like this? And you can get referrals and generate revenue from a non-revenue sale, that
Right.
type. So there's a lot of ways. And at the end of the day, I always just try to ground myself into the belief and the really, effective mindset and principle of if I just come in with the intention of how do I serve you and help you, everything else will work out,
100%. Yeah, and that's exactly what we were talking about earlier is like just show up with a service mindset. Like I liked what you said. Like if you give an extra product away, so what? Like it's not gonna kill your business. You know what I mean? And some people, somebody might get really excited. Like, oh, I got an extra bottle of this supplement. Now these people are really nice. It can have like little funny trickle down effects like that. But that's the kind of results that you can get for showing up and serving people and a lot of times giving something away for free, showing rather than telling, you know what I mean? And I think that a really great example is that high-end pulse machine, you know what I mean? That is a very expensive product that you're loaning out to somebody, so that's already like, hey, I want to trust you as somebody who wants to, consume my product. And then,
Yep.
of course, they have the waiver and everything that they sign, but then they get to try it. And that's exciting, right? It's this new cool thing. Or even if it's just something product based, they're like, man, I get to try this for free. You're so much a lot more likely to build that trust and a lifetime customer that way. And so
Yep.
I love that point. I think that that's really important. So another one that I have is, especially when you're setting up for an event like we were talking about, or, any kind of, thing that you're hosting, send reminder emails and tap an SMS. So let's face it, like people are people. Life happens, right? So
Yeah.
sometimes people forget, even if they sign up for something, right before it. So a couple things you can do is make sure your prospects show up by sending them a reminder email, right? Or a text messages. And if you're far enough along, automate it, right? Send
Yeah.
out automated text messages and emails to help them set it up 24 hours before and even 1 hour before. And a couple of tips that I have, because we've been doing this for a while, is personalize the message, right? Let them know the value of the call, what they're showing up to do, and include a clear CTA to reschedule if necessary, especially if it's a paid event or something one-on-one or personal. Make it as easy as possible. Give them that ease of access, right? And I wanted to talk a little bit about my experience with that because I was, on the front lines, inviting people to our workshop and things like that. And people really appreciated the personal nature of my outreach. It wasn't just the automated emails and SMS. I was reaching out to call them, and I had some really great conversations with people of like, hey, I haven't, talked to you guys in a while. You're hosting a workshop. I love Gabe's workshops. Let me sign up. Like I really want to come. And
Yeah.
and being able to do that is so rewarding because not only am I able to foster relationships with people I've been talking to recently, I can reignite relationships with, folks we haven't talked to in a while and engage with new folks as well. Imagine that, exactly what the workshop was on, existing people that have fallen through the cracks and new clients as well. And I was able to not only invite them to something that I think that they would find very highly valuable, but I was also able to just check in them. How's life going? I would read my notes on the previous conversations I had with them and see that they just got back from a vacation. How was your vacation? Did you have fun? What do you have going on with your business? Stuff like that cascades. And so not only do you get to serve your own business by reaching out, inviting them to the workshop or whatever you're holding, you're also fostering that deep interpersonal relationship with that person. And I think that that's so important from a sales perspective, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's important to highlight too, like a workshop, a training, a live event in person, or, obviously it's easy to do those things virtual now, like we did it over Zoom, is almost universally applicable because I've worked with attorneys who hold workshops to say, here's your estate planning and legacy planning. I've worked with product companies that say, let's get on and we'll show you how to use the products and, give away prizes for people there. And like, this is how our product helps, or here's a specific service or process. And like, you can, in almost all cases, you can say, what would be something really valuable? A piece of what we do when somebody pays for all of our services or all of our products. How can I pull out some of the valuable things that can solve somebody's problems now? And so events are a great way to have real interaction, and we had great conversations with everybody who was on there, and solved their problems and helped them grow. And again, some buy, some move forward, and some will be like, oh, that solved my problems, but you still made their life better, their business better, whatever they're working on, and you become somebody that they're more than willing to refer, even if they never paid you. I could look back over the 18 years of having this business, and there's been millions of dollars that have been referred from people that never paid me a dollar, but I was able to help and solve something. And then they're like, oh, you got to talk to the team at BME, because Gabe and his team solved this for me in just some free help. And so it's always something to look at, like, how do you just invest in your community, your prospects, the audience that you have, and keep investing and serving in a sustainable way that makes sense.
Right.
Because ultimately you build goodwill, and goodwill is what drives business, more than anything else.
If you guys don't remember anything, Gabe is a quote machine, so goodwill drives your business, right? And so I was actually going to touch on that. Him and I are so in sync. So one thing I was going to talk about is having the right mindset, right? When you're showing up and serving through a check-in call, through a workshop, through giving anything away, really anything with your business, it's not important if they buy or not. And I think that that's a tough lesson for a lot of entrepreneurs to learn. What's important is you're doing something meaningful and you're getting in front of your audience, right? Like you said, a huge portion of the revenue that comes from these sort of events is referrals, right? People that didn't even come to the workshop, they were like, it was somebody who came to the workshop or the event, and they were like, hey, somebody else in their life came to them with a problem, like, man, I'm really struggling with my marketing or my social media or a technology piece of my business. And then that person thinks back to the workshop, even though they didn't buy anything or do our CTA or follow through. They were like, hey, I know of somebody who had a really great talk on this. They might be able to help you out. Then it keeps moving along. That's why showing up with a mindset of service is so important when you're doing like workshops or outbound outreach and things like that, because it'll have a trickle down effect with that goodwill. And so I think that that's so important. I love that we touched on that.
Yeah.
Another tip that I have, and I think this one kind of gets underlooked sometimes, especially like when you're doing like sales work and you get stuck in like the doing the actual work of, sales and business, is enhancing your booking page, right? If your booking page isn't clean, simple, and really importantly, user friendly, you're going to lose prospects. That's the simple bottom line truth. You're going to lose prospects. And so the goal is to make it as easy as possible for somebody to book a call with you. A few things that you can do that come to mind for me is add testimonials, social proof, keep the steps to a minimum, make it really, really easy for them. And then right away, share the exact outcome that people will get and create a healthy level of urgency. And so for you, Gabe, you made it really easy for attendees to save their spot last week. What are some tips that you have for that business owners could emulate that?
Yeah, I mean, you touched on the key things is depending on what kind of event you're holding or what you're offering, like the key is like, what's the bare minimum information you need? So we just got name, email, phone number, and then it's optional if they want to put their business name in, and most folks do, because then, we know who's coming. And then other things that are helpful is like once people registered, again, we send them reminders. Another great thing that we've done for clients and we've done off and on over the years is once they've registered, like send them a short video, as short as you can, that says, I'm so excited you're registered. Here's what we're covering. Or I'm so glad you booked a call. Here's what we're going to cover and here's who we are. Because then you get to begin the relationship before you even have the live conversation of like, here's success some of our, clients, customers have had. Here's, here's kind of how our process works. So ultimately, you want it to be simple and easy to book a call or register for whatever you're offering. And then you want to start to teach and add value right away with the confirmations you send, with, again, short, concise, helpful videos. Concise is whatever length it needs to be. I
Right.
watched a 15-minute video the other day that I got after I booked a call with somebody that I'm going to work with. Other times it's like 30 seconds. Hey, so glad you registered. Here's who I am. Anything you need on the call, we're going to cover that. Like, don't set a specific length, but just ask yourself, like, what are the most important things that I can communicate in a video, in an email, and things like that. And so that way you can build that excitement, because somebody is going to commit their time, their most valuable asset, to you in a call they're booking, in a workshop, or in doing a trial. And so they're doing that because they want to solve a problem. So reinforce that, congratulate them, say, like, this is awesome, you're investing in yourself, we're going to learn some things. No matter what happens, you're going to walk away with this value, with these kind of resources. And that's a great way to increase the show up rates for people that book, to have a, call or a demo or whatever you're offering. Because ultimately, like, we have an incredibly high show up rate for people that book our calls, because we have automation, we have manual steps we take, we really try to cover all our bases. And then on occasion, like even today, we had somebody that's super interested in working with us. Something came up, because we're so good at, follow up and reaching out and building a relationship. They reached out long before the call and said, "Oh, something crazy came up. I apologize. I want to meet next week." And so that type of approach, really valuing people's time and giving them good resources leading up to when they engage face to face with you is really valuable, and it's an effective path to take.
Yeah, and I really like what you said. Like, everybody, and especially business owners, most valuable asset is time. And so when they're coming to one of your workshops or booking a call with you, they're giving you their time. And I think it's really important to show appreciation for that. Like you said, they're investing in themselves, in their business, by booking that call or showing up to a workshop to level up their skills, whatever they're doing. They're investing their time, and that's a very, very important asset to anybody. And so it's really important to congratulate them. Like, thank you for showing up. Like, almost every workshop of yours that I've been to, you start with, I want to just take a second to appreciate you guys for showing up for yourselves, investing your time with me, and I want to make it really valuable. So let's get into it. And so I think doing that really, really shows a level of personalization. And people really, really respond to that. So speaking of, if you guys are ready to fill your calendars with sales calls, we've really been able to do that ourselves. You can download our free 7-figure sales funnel guide down below. This guide breaks down our exact process for building marketing systems that handle the lead generation and nurture the people that actually book calls in your calendar. Um, and there's something exciting that I wanted to share based on that. So if you're wondering how successful this sales funnel actually is, we're going to share that for the first time with you guys here today. We had a tremendous amount of success with our 7-figure funnel, and we were able to book calls, have really engaging conversations, and really deepen the relationship with our audience. And so we decided to implement it ourselves, just to show how much we believe in the process. And so I'm going to have Gabe show a little bit of the stats and the analytics behind it, and how powerful it was for us, and how you guys can do it yourself.
Yeah, and so I'm going to pull this up. And one of the things that we always love supporting our clients with, and I just encourage everybody listening, is really know your numbers. So know what it's costing to generate a lead, know what, your potential revenue is out of that. Like, really pay attention to numbers, because when we partner with our clients, we look at, are you getting ROI from this? If
Right.
you are, great, how can we increase it? If you're not, what needs to be changed and adjusted? Whether it's marketing optimization that we're always doing, or we'll sit down with a client and say, let's look at your pricing. Like, what's the rest of the market doing? Is there an opportunity to increase pricing, be more profitable, and be able to invest in acquiring new clients? And so, what's really cool about this process is, can you see that, Nathan?
Yeah, indeed.
Okay, cool. We're good to go. So yeah, we share case studies like this all the time, just showing, our clients, our prospects, everybody, like, what the real numbers are. And so we took our own, lead generation that we did for the first half of the year and just broke down kind of what that looked like. This is a little bit small, but I'll just describe it. And of course, for those just listening on audio, we always take and map out, what are the outcomes we want? What's the path that a prospect is going to take, from what ads are we running to what's the landing page? What kind of emails are they going to get? How do we move them into booking a call so we can service support them, or what's the next product they need to buy? So we always have a clear, documented diagram and strategy that says this is the ideal flow. And then as we run campaigns, we update and modify and adjust this. But having a clear path forward is really crucial. And so ultimately, we ran Facebook and Instagram ads. We had our landing page. We ran social media posts and stories. We sent SMS. We have email series. We have an upsell page to book in the call. We have the lead magnet that breaks down everything that, we teach. And then also we ultimately move people into a newsletter because if they're not ready to buy now, we can still serve them, send great resources, and do all that. So just kind of a quick look at the assets that we produce for this. And also, again, this you'll have to be watching the video, which I know a lot of folks do. But if you check us out on YouTube, you'll see here's just a handful of screenshots of emails and ads and the guide that we put out. And you want to make sure that when you're putting out your advertising, your videos, your content, that it's really clear and easy to see. This is what you're going to get. This is the resource. This is the guide. And so the visuals, how you communicate, all the copywriting, all the language that we use in advertising is a big piece of how we optimize and bring in the right people and get that that attention. And so ultimately, this is a great example campaign because this is something that so many different businesses, regardless of size, can invest in. We run huge campaigns, but we wanted to show this because this is a kind of middle of the road thing where running this campaign, we ultimately got over 200,000 impressions, but really directly reached people that were engaging, about 46,000 people, 4,000 clicks. We had a good click-through rate of 1.85%, and a cost per click of $3.50. And getting over 1% click-through rate is key, especially when you're across all different media channels. Ultimately, over time we grow that. And so out of this, we generated 1,382 leads at a conversion rate of 43% and a cost per conversion of $10. And we always like to benchmark ourselves and say, how are we doing against the industry? Because if something's not at industry standards, we're going to work on it. And once we beat it, we're excited, but then we're going to say, how much more can we beat it by?
Yeah.
So what was really cool is our conversion rate, was over 43%. Industry standard is 10%. So we beat that by 33%. Cost per conversion is usually $23. We were, half of that, less than half of that. So we had, $10 leads coming in. And that's what's awesome is when you really track your numbers, when you've done your market research, when you understand who you're serving, then ultimately it becomes, just a matter of optimizing and making sure that you're paying attention to what's working, what's not working. Because we tell people very honestly, 90% of the marketing you put out there will fail. But the good news is that if you're working with a team and if you're using a system where you're running things through process and you're really monitoring and optimizing, we blow through the 90% failure extremely fast. Yep. And we double down on the 10%. And that's why we, 4x conversion rates, according to industry standards, and 2.5x, the cost per conversion. And so we were able to build a huge list of prospects, have great conversations, have people convert into services with us. And this is the same approach we take with all of our clients. And that's why it's successful, is because we're always going to ground in marketing principles. We're always going to be process driven. Even when it feels slow in some of that process, it's actually what accelerates growth and results like this. And so it was a lot of fun because we do this for clients every day. And this was an opportunity where it's yep, of course, we're going to do it the same way for ourselves. We treat ourselves like a client. I had to learn that over the years. Yep. And then figure that out, oh yeah, we should just do like we do for our clients, and I shouldn't be screwing around and changing direction all the time, because that's entrepreneurial brain that you got to watch for. And so we put this in place and ran it, and it was a massive success. And I'm really proud of the team and really glad to share this because it's an easy demonstration. We can show all the stuff because it's our stuff and we're happy to share it. Yep. Where of course, client work, we keep private, and that's your competitive edge. But ultimately it was a really successful campaign and just a great example of when you follow principles and you follow process, the sky's the limit because you can constantly learn and optimize. And we are always just continuous improving and trying to beat what we did yesterday.
That's exactly right. And it's always so fun to share internal wins, right? We share all kinds of wins every week. It wouldn't be an episode without our wins. And we always love to share our client wins, right? Because it's what we're doing every day. We're getting to work for our clients. We're doing our thing, doing the marketing. And it's so much fun to be able to share what we're doing internally as well. So if you guys like the video, throw it a thumbs up for us, especially over there on YouTube. Share it with your friends. We always love to make new friends over here. And don't forget to subscribe. We put out a new episode each and every Friday, and we would love to have you guys join our little family here. And again, if you want a team of dedicated experts working around the clock for your business to achieve results like we did with a 7-figure funnel, click the link down below and you can have a chat with me. And finally, again, if you guys would like to join our free newsletter where we put out awesome tips, resources, strategies, and the like to help grow your business, we also have a link below for that. Gabe, it was a pleasure yet again. Thank you all for joining me, and we will see you all next Friday.
See you, everyone.
Bye.